So, I want to share my memories about Jason David Frank with you guys and my connection to him. So, when I was about 3, 4-ish, 4 or 5, I saw him on TV as Tommy Oliver, the Green Ranger. He started as the Green Ranger, and then he became good, and then became the White Ranger, and so on. And I just remember watching it and going, wow, this is the man to be. This is the guy. He had the episodes recorded on VHS tape. That way after school I could come home and watch it, And so he became my hero. He became, I had the Green Ranger action figure. I always borrowed the Dragon Zord from a friend. Just everything having to do with the Green Ranger, I was all about. Just a typical kid in the 90s, loving Power Rangers. And growing up, my dad had an embroidery business. He made custom-made martial art belts and just, shirts and whatnot. And we go around to all the major judo tournaments, and set up a booth. And I've met so many people through judo and through martial arts as a whole. I met Larry Lamb, Hilary Wolf. Hilary Wolf was from Home Alone. I met Mike Swain. Just a bunch of names. Just like a ton of people, Richard Brandon, and just all these big names in martial arts. So that was my upbringing. I grew up in the martial art world, and I knew a lot of the major names in martial arts. Fast forward to about 2002. I was about 12 years old, and I was crying one day. I can't remember why, but I was on my way back to my classroom, and I was crying. And my dad, who happened to be the custodian filling in that day, came up to me and said, "Hey, I know Jason David Frank." And I was like, "What?" And I stopped crying, and I was like, "What?" And he said, "I'll tell you about it after school." So the rest of the day, I'm just like thinking, that's not possible. This is no way. Jason David Frank, as in Tommy Oliver, the Green Ranger, the White Ranger, And so I come home from school, and I go out to my dad's shop, and he plays me back the voicemail that Jason left on the voicemail, talking about his order, putting in his order and stuff like that. And I was like, that's him. I was like, that's Jason's voice. That's Jason David Frank on our voicemail, And I was like, wow, I wonder if I can ever, talk to him, get to meet him, And what happened next, I never expected. So it was about the time that Forever Red came out. The episode Forever Red just aired, and I taped it, and so I went out to the shop and helped my dad with Jason's order to make his belts and stuff for his school. And so we're watching Forever Red, and it comes to the part where Bulk hands Tommy the phone, and Tommy holds up the phone to his ear and says hello. And as soon as he said hello, the phone rang, and it was Jason David Frank. And my dad said to him, "How come you never told me you were a Power Ranger?" And he was really humble about it. He was like, "Well, And so my dad was like, my son's a big fan of yours, and we grew up watching the Power Rangers, and he said, would you like to talk to him? And immediately my face went, oh my God, I get to talk. And so I took the phone, and the first thing Jason said to me was, thanks for the show, man, thanks. And he said, if you're ever down in California, to come by the studio and the dojo, and we could train, And I thought that was just a great idea, because at the time, Rising Sun was in California. I remember after that phone call, I went inside, talked to my mom, told her I got to talk to Jason David Frank, and it was really him, and that, it's all these things, I was living a dream, it was just something I never expected to happen in my life. So one day my dad calls Jason's school, and asks, where's Jason at? I need to talk to him. And the guy who answered the phone said, well, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but he's in New Zealand filming the new Power Rangers. And at the time, it was all rumors that Jason was coming back to Power Rangers as Tommy. And it was very hush-hush, And so that's how I found out he was coming. This was like 2003 when they're filming it. So I found out a year before it came out. And I knew this whole time that he was coming back. He was going to be the Black Ranger. And he was going to be the mentor of the show, I mean, he kind of had to be the mentor, because, just being a veteran ranger, so I knew about it, but I couldn't really tell anybody about it. I just acted like any other fan. I said, rumor has it, Tommy Oliver's coming back to Power Rangers, and it's going to be another dinosaur season, and people were just like, whatever, I mean, because at that age, my friends they thought Power Rangers was lame, that it was for kids, and which we were kids, but we were older, And then Dino Thunder finally comes out, and I get to see what they filmed, I get to see, everything that happened, and I'm just loving this. I mean, it was like, it's one of the best seasons in my opinion. It's one of the best seasons. Not just because of Jason David Frank, but because it celebrated the history of the Power Rangers. The day the Legacy of Power aired on TV, I was actually at a Taekwondo tournament for my first and only tournament I ever did. And I took second place. And I remember I got home and I watched the episode and just relived all those memories that I remember, of watching the Power Rangers, So, and actually, this right here is my original Black Ranger, my original Dino Thunder Black Ranger from back in the day. It even has the Try Me tab still in it. I kept it in the case because I intended to get it signed by Jason, and never did. But so to this day, I have not. The Try Me tab still in it. Everything's still in mint condition. 2013-ish, I find out that Jason's going to be at a convention called Wizard World. And I'd never been to a convention. I'd never been to comic conventions or anything like that. And I told my dad we should go meet him, we should go say hi, So we make the trip down there. The first thing we do is we went straight to Jason's booth, where they were setting up, DJ Trey and Jason were setting up the booth. Waved over him and said, hey, you remember me? And he pointed to his hat. It had the name of his business on there that made Jason's belts. And he said, he introduced himself and told him who he was. And he was like, oh yeah, I do know you. And he said, come on up. And we went to the booth, and he signed everything. I mean, I had a bunch of stuff. I had trading cards. I had pictures, just a lot of stuff for him to sign. And he signed it all for free. And he even said, he said, "Oh yeah, I'll sign this all for free. No problem. You guys have done so much for me that, I just told him what an honor it is to meet him. And, we took pictures. We took a lot of pictures, actually, that day. And I went to the VIP meet and greets. So then, from then on, I would go to conventions mainly to see Jason because he was going to his booth was like the highlight. I mean, he would stand up. He would stand up on his chair and throw out cards and just one time he like made it rain. He would always say the phrase, making it rain like Lil Wayne. You throw stickers to people, throw T-shirts out to people. It was fun. It was great. His booth was the best place to be. One year I go up to his booth, and he goes, "Hey," and he knew exactly who I was, He said, "Hey, how's life going?" And I was going through a hard time at the time. It was kind of a rough year. And I said, it's got its ups and downs, And he said, "How's your dad doing?" And I said, "He's doing good, As I'm leaving the booth, I'll never forget this. Jason said, "Where there's a down, there's an up." Just like that. And that made me smile. And that really inspired me. I see the red Saba, and I said, "How much for the red Saba?" And the guy says, Jason David Frank already, reserved and bought it. We're just holding it for him. And I'm like, oh, man. I'm thinking, Jason, how dare you? And then after I had that interaction, they pulled me aside and had me sign some papers, saying we're filming for Toy Hunter. And so I was like, cool. It eventually got cut from the episode, but a lot of what happened that day, I was there for. One year, I took my girlfriend at the time we went to go meet Jason at a meet and greet. So my girlfriend raises her hand, and Jason, and there is a video out there of this. Jason goes, "Yes, what is it?" And her question was, she said, "Do you ever think Power Rangers is too babyish, too childish?" When she said that, I looked at her as if I don't know her. I'm like, who let her in? It was a funny moment, and Jason was very humble about it, very understanding, and he was great about it, One year I went to his booth, and I had made a picture. It was of Tommy from the football season episode, and he was wearing a number 12 jersey, and I put Tommy Oliver, the original 12th man. And Jason, when he saw that, he was like, "Oh, that's so cool," and he loved it so much, he asked me to email it to him. He asked me to email the picture to him, and with the tagline, "Jason wanted this," And so he gave me a sticky note with the email address on it, and I still have it. I still have it in my little scrapbook. I do still have that sticky note with that same email that he gave me, to email it to him. Okay, I remember when this picture was taken. When this picture was, so it came time for my photo with him, and he's holding the Green Ranger and the White Ranger helmets, and actually he handed me the White Ranger helmet. He said, "Hey, do you want to hold this?" And I said, "No, that's yours. That's no way." And I remember on the back of this White Ranger helmet, it was cracked. He had dropped it at one point. And one time, somebody asked, "What does the inside of the helmet smell like?" And Jason smells the inside of the helmet and goes, "Sushi." He was just a funny guy. I mean, he was a funny guy. This was from when I first met him, and after we took this picture together, Jason said, you know, he made this big announcement to everybody in the room. He said, "Hey guys, this guy right here, his dad makes my belts," and so, and everybody just went wild about that, you know. So that was from the first time I met him in person. You know, at first I considered him a celebrity, but getting to know him as a person, I was like, this guy's just like everyone else, you know. And that's how my dad saw it too, you know, is that this is just a regular guy doing what he loves. And you know, and Jason was always humble, full of humor, just all around great guy. I mean, I'd never seen someone so positive. He taught me a lot. I mean, you know, when he said, you know, where there's a down, there's an up. Every year at Comic-Con, I would ask Jason to do the evil Green Ranger laugh for everybody, and he would do it. And I knew that was everybody just went wild when they heard that. You know, the I can't do it, but he had a certain signature laugh. You know. And then another year, I asked. I said, you know, it was when the Super Megaforce episode aired, or it was getting ready to air, and there were pictures online of, you know, had the silver streaks on the helmet. And I said, "What's up with the silver streaks on your helmet? Are they trying to say you're old?" You know, and I got a chuckle out of him from that, and you know, he even told Saban, you know, and that, hey, we need to correct that. You know, we need to color correct the helmet and the morpher because they were not the right colors, and people are gonna notice. One day, I woke up and I checked my phone. I got a text from a friend of mine that I met through a meet and greet, you know, at a Green Ranger meet and greet, and he said, "R.I.P. Jason David Frank." And I saw that and I was like, what? I'm like, what? No, this can't be happening. And I just burst into tears. I was like, no way, you know. Jason was all about positivity. He was a motivational speaker. All this stuff. He was a great sensei. You know, just all around great guy. And so to hear that he had died, I thought, okay, it had to have been an accident. I'm still in disbelief and trying to understand why it happened. I always imagined that, you know, I would see Jason into his old, you know, gray-haired years, you know, and you know, and he'd still be signing autographs, you know, and I would tell my kids that this was my hero when I was growing up, and I also consider him a friend. You know, a family friend. I still get choked up thinking about it, man. Whenever I hear the song Dreams by Van Halen, all these memories come back to me, and thinking about the legacy he left behind, you know, and the impression they left on me. And, I mean, I had never met anyone so positive. He was all around good guy. Everything he's taught me, everything we've been through, he was so talented beyond not just martial arts and karate and, you know, Power Rangers. He also had philosophy on life. But for the most part, he was really humble. A really down-to-earth guy. And that's what I loved about him. I still wish he was still around. And growing up, I pretty much learned the philosophy of when you enter the ring at a tournament, like a karate tournament or a karate practice, and you enter, you know, you bow in on the mat, you check your ego and everything at the end of the mat. You don't bring that in with you. So, and then when you bow out from the mat, Then you go back to, but when you're inside the ring and you're on the mat, you're focused. You got to stay focused. And that's one thing Jason, taught me, and I just learned from, being in martial arts, that, and it doesn't just apply to martial arts. It also applies to anywhere, your workplace, school, it applies to a lot of things. One thing Jason once said was, business is business and personal is personal. You never mix them. And I never expected I would have a connection with him. Not just because he's my favorite Ranger, not because, but because of how I met him and what I learned from him. I really wish I, could have kept that belt. I mean, I really wish, because I remember, when my dad was making all the belts, and I would look at them as they're being, made, and I'm just going, wow, this is going to Jason David Frank. This is going to Jason Frank. Jason was just like everyone else. So that's my story about Jason. I miss him every day. I'm always thinking about him. I'm always going to support Rising Sun Karate. Thank you all for listening, and I'll see you next time.